Coming up in just a minute, I'm going to show you how to do a complete cleaning and refurbishment of a Roomba. And your Roomba may not be in the same condition it was when you got it, but it is definitely worth doing this. With just some basic hand tools, you can take a non-functioning or beat up Roomba and make it basically as good as new. For about $30 to $35 on Amazon, you can get a bunch of these feet. You can get new rollers, you can get new filters, you can get even a new battery all in one shot. Just go ahead and check the links in the description. If you had to replace these drive motors, you could actually do that for about 65 bucks. That's a little bit debatable if it's worth it, but I'm going to show you step by step using simple hand tools how to basically rebuild your Roomba and get it back up to speed. Hey everybody, I hope you're having a fantastic day. I have the towel on the desk, which is the universal sign that it's about to get messy. We are going to do a Roomba refurb. Now, I got this one, my wife and I got this one in November 2012, and love the thing, but eventually she wanted one of the fancier ones, and obviously this one has taken a bit of a beating. It's been to Alaska and back. I was not going to leave this thing behind. I love this robot. It's so hard to not anthropomorphize the thing where like you treat it like it's a human, like a part will fall off it and I'll feel bad for the robot. But this thing was somewhere in the $200 to $300 range originally, and I've spent about $50 or so keeping it running over the years, but it is time for a refurb, and I don't think I'm actually going to have to spend any money on it this time, but I want to show you some of the tips and tricks that I've used to keep this thing running over the years. If any of you are wondering if they work well, they work really well. Like, I really love the way these things work. So, just to let you know, I might tear it down and try to figure out what's going on with it, but the base where it parks itself stopped charging. This is not the original power brick. That stopped working. This is not the original battery. But parts for it are cheap. And I mean, I replaced the battery from one off Amazon. I looked for one that got good reviews, and it's been going for 3 years or something on this other battery. And if I had to replace it again, it'd cost me 20 some bucks. And as long as the thing works, like, it's well worth it. So, flipping the thing over, you can see that, it's definitely been beat. I've fixed this wheel, and we're gonna take this out. We're gonna refix this wheel. Its little arms fell off over here, that do the little sweeping in the corner. And, we're gonna kind of go through some of this stuff. So, this thing needs a thorough cleaning, and really it should get a thorough cleaning about every month or two. And so this one I'm gonna get to keep in my shop because we've got a new one, so I'll have one for the shop, which is awesome. So we'll kind of go over cleaning that a little bit. There's a filter in here, and what I do on this one, so I mean, I should have opened that. I have an air compressor, and so as you can see, I wrote on here, cleaned one time. So what I do is, these things have a little coating, but you can get by with blowing these things out with an air compressor 1 or 2 times, 3 times, whatever, before you replace them. But they're relatively cheap when you buy the refurb kits. You get a new filter. So Roomba, so this one says been cleaned 3 times. So, I'm going to go ahead and clean this one, I guess, another 1 or 2 times. But these filters are relatively easy to come by. They come in the kits. The little arm that fell off is relatively easy to come by. They come in the kits, so I might need to flatten that out a little bit, but there's a little arm that goes here. That's super easy to come by. There's a little fork thing here for cleaning out the brushes and stuff like that, and to rip through the hair and all that. So it's a cleaning tool. All this stuff is super accessible, which means that if you pick one of these things up at a yard sale, even if the battery doesn't work, even if the an arm is missing or something like that, they're relatively cheap and easy to work on. And I love cheap and easy. So I don't need to take the battery out, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. So I believe those are captive screws. Yeah, so we're going to take this thing apart and just completely clean it because it's time. Those things just come off. This battery just pops right out. You might want to clean the little terminals down there or something like that, but I mean, it is a quick fix. It is that easy to swap out one of the batteries, and hey, there we go. They're relatively cheap. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give this a good cleaning, but there's one other thing. This wheel here gets jammed up, and I think it's permanent. It's been a while since I've worked on this thing, but this wheel needs to come out, and once it comes out, it's it's going to fall out every time. So if this wheel is broken, I'm going to show you how to fix it. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this out, and I'm going to just do a real basic cleaning on all this stuff, and I won't go too thorough, and I'll be right back. Now I've pulled this wheel out here, and we're going to get back to what's going on with that in a minute. And it is, let's see here. It is 4:48 in the morning, so I decided against taking the compressor and just blowing this thing off outside. So I'm going to do just a basic wipe down with some water and kind of dry that off with some paper towels. And then I'm going to use the compressor outside to get a better blow of the dust. But we're going to get just some of the funk off. So I'm not overly worried about making this thing spotless, but as you can see, like in here, there's gunk, and that is where rollers contact. So you do want to kind of get out any gunk that's just going to slow a roller down or something like that. I mean, this is a vacuum in my office. It's going to get dirty. I'm not worried about that. I just want to get it functional. Okay, so basically spend as much or as little time as you want cleaning that out. I would definitely get in here on these things. As you can see, these are where those where the rollers are going to go into. So I would be careful not to tear it up, but I would try to get a little bit of cleaning in there just to keep this operating nice and smooth. Okay, so I don't think there's a real benefit to obsessing over this. I used a little bit of 91% IPA and just got some of the basic crud out of there. I think I'd be way more worried about breaking something, really scraping away that stuff, than a little bit of dust or grime in there. So I got it what I would consider basically clean. I do want to get these little rollers over here, the little roller holders, cleaned out just a little bit better, because that's a free rolling surface. So any little friction in there is just going to make it perform a little bit worse. But yeah, so basically get it generally clean. There's some contacts here. Go ahead and get those basically clean. Now the next step is to deal with the rollers. And they are by far the grossest part. Now these are, you can tell what color hair my wife has. These are the original ones, and they are 8 years old. 8.5 years old, and so I have not replaced them. You can replace them, but essentially there's just the manual job of getting any hair and gunk out of here. Again, you don't have to get 100%, and this tool does help. You can come down here and you can cut stuff that's wrapped around and then pick it off a little bit easier. I mean, if you want to wear gloves, wear gloves. But I mean, I figure it's my hair, my wife's hair, so whatevs. So yeah, you just clean it as best you can. Now, one thing you do want to take note of is here in the end, a lot of things tend to build up. And so you want to get something on there and kind of slide that stuff off, because it's just getting tangled and causing these things to have to work harder. So yeah, see, it just pretty much comes right out. You can go in there, you can do the IPA thing, you can get a little bit of the grime off with some alcohol and a Q-tip if you want. You know, obviously completely optional. Obsess as much as you want. See, I do this thing, like I said, I do this about every couple of months. So, I mean, it gets bad, but it's not like it really has to be torn apart. So again, I just check in here looking for any kind of grime. There's a little bit of gunk in here that I'm going to get out and then maybe clean that. This is brass. I'm going to clean that with some more isopropyl. I don't put any kind of lubricant or anything on there because it's just going to attract dirt. So that's one down. This one doesn't tend to get as much stuck in it, but a lot gets stuck on the end. Now there is some kind of nylon part down here you don't want to break. So we're going to pull this off gently. And then this is kind of the tricky one to get to. So we're going to try using that tool. If not, we're going to use the spudger to get that stuff out. I do have this hook blade that will come on here and allow me to kind of cut things on the inside, which is kind of handy. For those of you who haven't seen this knife, it's got 2 blades, so I can kind of switch back and forth between the two. Really handy for this kind of stuff. I don't use the hook blade anywhere near as much, but when you need it, you need it. Yeah, so I mean, the thing about this is there's basically nothing in here that the average homeowner should be afraid of to work on. You know, for it being a robot, it's all pretty simple parts. So we're going to get to that black and white wheel. I'm guessing there's a reason. I'm guessing it has something to do with the sensor inside that is what makes this black and white wheel important. It's not hard to clean. The shaft will come out, so be careful about that. But we are going to see, all of a sudden that spins free. When I had this thing, it wouldn't spin at all. So getting that thing cleaned out is important. Now there's a trick to putting this back in that I'm going to show you at the very end. And the next thing we want to deal with is this little arm. And these things break fairly often. And one of the problems with them is you want to be real careful. This little thing here, this little thing that it goes into, is pretty dang delicate. And so over time, as you replace these things, it becomes possible for the to break that little plastic thing. So I want to be careful with that. And then we may even have to use some kind of washer to get this to hold on. So we're going to pull out this little screw here. Now this is keyed. It has a little bit of a hex thing. Let me see if I can get that focus. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a hex thing on there. So when you put it on, you want to get it keyed on there. Just gently push it down, and then you want to get that screw back on. Okay, we're in the home stretch. I did a quick blow off of this. I'm going to go back and do it again when I can make a little bit more noise. But if you think about it, I used a leaf blower this time. If you think about it, dirt is getting sucked from the outside through the filter this way. So what you want to do is you want to blow it back out this way. The goal is not to try to impregnate dirt as much as you can in the filter. It's to blow it back out the other way. So you want to do that. And then same thing, while you have the leaf blower out, you've got this thing where this is sucking in here. And so you want to blow in through here and just get any of the dirt out of this little fan in here. So blow in from this side, leave this open, make sure you have room to breathe, and just let her rip. Now, for this wheel, I mentioned using caulk. For one thing, you're going to laugh because now I'm putting on gloves. If you've never used these Venom steel gloves, really like these things. I probably could use 2X because I struggle to get these things on, but they're a lot better rubber gloves. So I prefer using something like either 100% silicone or siliconia, or this like Dynaflex 230. You want something that's got a little bit of give to it. I don't want to jam it down on the axle. I just want to seal this right here. So what we're going to do, we're going to come right over the top and just kind of, even if you have to do 2 coats, do 2 coats. But we're basically just going to make a little lid for it. And I'm going to come back in there in a second. You'll see what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And this is just, you want this up, you don't want to use an adhesive, you don't want to use like a painter's caulk, something that'll be brittle. What you want to do is you want to use something that's got some adhesive properties, but also has some rubber to it. So you want to make sure the wheel is centered there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here with my spudger, and I'm going to clean that joint up a little bit. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to brush off anything on the side. I'm going to smooth out the top. I can come back in here and just fill that back in. That's what I want right there. I want just enough on there so that this thing isn't going to come out on the top and the wheel will stay. Now, if you think about it, I mean, the only time this is going to have any pressure on it is when you're picking the Roomba up. I mean, the Roomba doesn't go in the air. It just, so pressure is going to hold this thing in. Gravity is going to hold this thing in 99% of the time. You just need something so that every time you pick the dang Roomba up, this wheel doesn't fall out. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit of reassembly here. These things, again, you could always get cleaner. There's no way you can't. So they have a square side and like kind of a notch side. So we're going to stick the square side in, make sure that lines up. and then drop this down so that this sits flat. Same thing on this side. We're going square side in the socket. Drop it down here, get that nice and flat. Then this will clamp down here to make sure that it doesn't open. We're going to go ahead and put our battery back in. It will only go in one way, like that. Again, we're not trying to spread a whole lot of dust on that. You know what? This thing goes on. Yeah, I got to take this off real quick. This goes like this. And we're going to hand screw this down. Don't use a drill on this. Goodness. One thing to take it apart. It's another thing to put it back together. We're going to do it like we're tightening bolts on a engine head or lug nuts on a car. Now we're going to put his little arms back on. Then this is going to get another cleaning, but just for the sake of this video, this will slide in like so. This gets closed. Then this thing gets clipped on here. And we're good there. So we're just going to let this dry and then we're going to fire it up. So that's about it. Roomba is up and running. This took me about a half an hour in real time, so not bad at all. Some of you may question why I put the caulk here. The fact is you can order new wheels like this for about $8, but the reviews aren't great. And so this is still the factory wheel from 8 years ago. A little bit of caulk and it works fine. Like, it's not going to fall out. Turn the thing upside down. It's fine. Not going anywhere. And just took a couple minutes to fix it. So anyway, if you are interested in refurbishing your Roomba, I really would encourage you to use the links in my description. Those links help out the channel. And give it a like, give it a comment. And hey, thanks for watching. Roomba on.